Hey guys, it's DSci here, or DPSI. Today I'm going to be doing some match analysis. This game is from the semifinals of the AOC Open Cup from last December. The two players, we have number 1 seed mxd versus number 8 seed ichbin. So the first thing you might notice is that this map is utter chaos. So let's go into the move planner, take a look at it. All right, so basically the first thing that I see is a bunch of walls of APCs. What the fuck? So basically these walls kind of act as one-way valves. The red-black boat that you start with obviously goes through the APC wall of his own color, but not the blue one. A little bit obvious, but that's true. And the way that I think about this map is there's really three different theaters of war. So there's this base right here, and this base right here, which Blue Moon and OS will take very quickly, respectively. And basically, there's three battles: this island, and this island. Once each player has time to spare some infantry, they can send the black boat over to the island with their HQ, and they can pick up a free airport. You start with another airport, which is way the heck over here, but it's barricaded off by APCs. So the only real way for this airport to do anything for you is get a B-copter, liberate your friends if you want to, and then I don't know, attack their HQ or something. I don't know. Basically, when all this crazy crap starts happening, when the APC wall starts coming down and air units start popping out, it gets really crazy. Now in this game, we don't get to see quite that crazy late game stuff. However, I believe the other semifinal game is yet to be played, and unless I'm mistaken, it's again on this map. So once it gets played out, I would love to go and watch that game, maybe do a similar analysis, who knows, and just sort of see what it looks like as two different people play it. So yeah, one other thing that I should mention that really makes this map special is that the three different centers of attention, the three different theaters of war, there's very little communication between them. Uh, if you have an extra tank on the top of the mid island, for example, it's not going over to the left island unless you build a lander, which is a very expensive investment. So in that way, each theater of war is pretty disconnected from the other. This, I think, it lends itself well to a different style of gameplay than we're used to seeing. I think that there might be some similarities with a game like Go, where there's a bunch of disconnected areas that kind of interact, and we'll be seeing a number of like interesting problems of initiative, where there's like three different tech trees for each island. Each island has to have armor, anti-armor, infantry walls, and since they don't interact so much, you have to like your build order to get to tanks and artillery and mechs, or if you want them, or infantry. You're kind of reacting to three different fronts at once. So I think that this map is kind of special in that way, as opposed to like a more standard map where if you're just lacking tanks in one area, just send your tank up north or down south, and it'll get there in one turn. Gonna get a drink of water now. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I want to say about the map before we go into things. Um, all right, so as for the game itself, we're gonna go. Okay, right, we're on the first turn. The first thing I want to point out to you is the choice of COs. MXD chose Eagle. I wonder if the motivation is that once we get into the late game with the APC walls starting to come down, excuse me, Eagle's air power will reign supreme. His fighters are, 20% stronger. Bombers are good. B-copters are good. And of course, there's the ultra powerful Super CO power. Unfortunately for MXD, Ichbin picks Sasha. Sasha, she counters Eagle pretty hard. So much of Eagle's like power comes from his Super CO power. And of course, with Sasha's power, we're really never going to be able to see that Super CO power come into play. The other really powerful thing about Sasha, of course, is her extra income. She gets an extra 100 funds for every property she owns. So basically, what that means is since there's so many properties in this game, Sasha basically just gets a free city, and then maybe 2 cities depending on once you reach the what is it, the 20,000. Sorry. Yeah, once you reach the 20 property mark, she basically has 2 free cities. The way to play Sasha, I can't really advise people too much on this. I'm pretty new to Sasha. I partly because I thought that the plus 10% funding only applied to her base spaces, like her factories, not her cities too. But I'm an idiot, and it turns out she's really good. So I'm learning, you're learning, we're all learning. It's good. All right, so let's get into the first move. All right, both Ichbin and MXD choose to bring the black boats over to the island right away. Start capturing the base. Makes sense. There might be an argument for capturing left right away, but I don't know. This is, as you'll see, you get very behind on this base and this base compared to like the outer bases, the outer enemy bases, since they basically start a full 3 turns ahead in production. Pardon me. So yeah, I think that trying to get this property early and fortify it as soon as possible, as we see next, with this next fortification coming in right away, I think that's very wise. Especially as a game between very high level players and players who respect each other's tactics and abilities quite a lot. So you notice with the capturing pattern here, Blue Moon captures outwards, and then this infantry that just captured is able to go to this square or this square, looking to contest this city or this city. I don't really want this to be a capture video because honestly, I don't understand the capture game that well. I'm thinking about making something about that later on or trying to learn it better myself, but this isn't quite the time to dive too deep into the super early game. So going ahead another move or 2. So far, everything is mirrored. MXD also chooses to reinforce this outpost. This infantry chooses to go for this city in the peninsula, as with MXD, as opposed to trying to go down here. And we'll see why in about a move or 2. So MXD chooses to capture the city on the outpost. I'm sorry, the city on the peninsula, and builds an artillery behind it. Just in theory, like without even looking at what the next move is, artillery makes a lot of sense because this is a very choky area, mountains. There's like only one tile that's passable by land, so general rule of thumb is that artillery tend to rule supreme there. And then, oh, I missed the first tank. I'm sorry about that. Ichbin's first vehicle comes out at the end of day 4. And that is a early tank on the lower right island. My guess about the logic, I think that his idea is that since he's so far behind on the infantry count, it makes sense to get ahead in the vehicle count here so that this island isn't lost. I mean, basically, if Ichbin can get to the mid game, these two islands approximately equal. Like, there's a stalemate here, there's a stalemate there, there's a stalemate there. Since Ichbin gets an extra 2 cities from just being in a stalemate, that's that's pretty powerful at this level of play. So I think that playing conservatively to avoid crazy tactics is probably on his mind. Right, and so then this artillery is a response to the tank. And as we'll see, there's a really great outpost for this artillery next turn. Ichbin chooses to interrupt the cap as opposed to capture by himself, which is a deviation from how it was played over here. And wow, look at this. Look at this structure right here. The artillery covers every relevant square. This square just barely, this infantry is just barely safe. Oh, it's so good. And as we'll see, this structure turns out, or like the combination of this strong artillery, this strong infantry wall and this artillery, this gets MXD a lot of value. He forces Ichbin to build up a lot of units, a lot of values worth of units in order to like do anything about this wall. So very, very good on MXD. Ichbin had also built a recon on the main island here. His strategy with this recon is to put it in the very center, and then this way he can contest capturing on the left and the right, since the recon can move so quickly. MXD's response to this is to build a tank on the main island and a mech on the upper left island. The mech, it might look premature. It kind of does to me. Like, there's no armor on this island, so this mech is very fragile. Like, there's nothing for this mech to do other than like capture cities. So this mech is kind of waiting for a tank to come by so that it can prove itself useful, but it does end up certainly carrying its weight. Next turn, Ichbin gets an artillery on this main island. This is, I still don't really understand this move. I made another take of this video. It was an hour and 10 minutes long, and probably like 10 minutes of that was trying to figure out what the heck this artillery was doing. I analyzed everything beforehand, and this is one of the moves that I can't say that I understand too well. I mean, there's only 3 infantry and a recon, and there's a tank. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. They're much better players than I am. And the thing is, too, he has like an extra 1,000 funds, so this could be a tank if he wanted it to be. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if Ichbin watches this video and has a response for why he chose the artillery there. Ichbin also decides to build a tank in the lower right. And already you can see there's a lot of unit value for Ichbin, and I think like 4,000, somewhere around 4,000 gold less here. 4,000 gold less of unit value from MXD on this island. But blue still isn't really breaking this anytime soon. Let's see. So let's do the next turn. MXD builds a recon in the upper left. Makes perfect sense. There's all infantry and no armor, so a recon is perfect. Responds with a recon here on the main island. Again, ichbin's idea is perhaps to play the recon on the middle so that he can attack both sides, like for instance interrupting this cap. Since the take can only be in one plate, can only cover one side at once, the recon can troll around and be an ass. But with a recon of MXD zone, he can sort of neutralize that threat. Very smart, I think. And then in the lower right, builds a mech because 2 tanks are scary. Next turn here, we see the black boat for the first time has left its harbor to scour new lands. And ichbin chose a really nice time to do this. Notice what's happening with MXD's black boat. There's no infantry within walking distance. So basically what ichbin is going to do is make a beeline for this airport. And MXD, he has to wait another full turn before he can load this black boat up and get an airport of his own. So ichbin is 1.5 turns ahead, or 1.5 days ahead in the race to capture this airport, which is pretty big, especially playing as Sasha. I think that's relevant. Okay, right. And so ichbin has built an artillery of his own in the lower right with the idea of chipping away at this wall of infantry. He's set up a nice artillery wall over here on the left side of the main island. And in the upper left, he's finally built his first tank. Let me get another quick drink of water. So this is MXD's next turn. This is the beginning of day 8. He puts a very nice shield up here, protecting his mech. His recon's out front because infantry can't hurt recons pretty much. Builds a tank behind it. He's starting to get into a more aggressive stance in this upper left island. On the middle island, he has chosen something very interesting, I think. He's chosen to kill off this infantry right here. At the expense of potentially getting a free tank shot, a free artillery shot on his tank, that is. I don't understand this move either. Obviously, from like a cost-effective point of view, I don't think it adds up. But this is kind of a level beyond cost-effectiveness, I think. I think this is a strategic move. The idea being, I want to whittle down your artillery wall, even if it means taking my tank down to 4 HP. On this, he's continuing to capture his normal in the center, and he's finally got his infantry set up. Wait, hold on, where are we? Yeah, he's finally built an infantry that's going to end up on a voyage to his HQ. Right, in the lower right, he's chosen a slightly more defensive position because that many tanks and infantry, ichbin's a strong player. He can find ways of attacking that. All right, so now ichbin's response. Not much happening in the upper left. His black boat is moving into position. With free supplying the whole time, that black boat will never run out of fuel. And then I think a very interesting counterattack. Instead of taking the free tank damage, which I don't know, I'm very trigger happy. Like I see a tank inside my artillery range, and like within 0.5 seconds, the tank already has 4 damage, 4 HP left. Like I don't know, oh, I love hitting tanks with artillery. It feels so good. Um, but what he does is he just kills off this recon completely. I think this might be sort of a honestly, I'm not sure. I'd just be grasping at straws if I tried to come up with an explanation. Uh, but again, I guess it's like since this tank isn't going to attack into the recon, it's going to be the same structure next turn, the same idea next turn where there's a tank over here, and it can only respond to one of the recon threats, since the recon can threaten 2 areas and the tank can only defend 1. Maybe that's an explanation. In the lower right, he finally gets his artillery into position to start whittling down, or at least forcing MXD to retreat. In the upper left, we see the first really powerful engagement in the upper left. MXD kills off this infantry, but kind of puts himself in a very offensive stance with the idea of protecting this mech. And since this tank is basically the only armor that Ichbin has at this point, he has to be very careful with it, so as not to fall behind in the armor total. I also just like really love like the way that mxd attacked into this. You can tell he's a very strong player just by looking at just look like the threat from the bottom is this tank, right? Like the big scary thing in the bottom is this tank, and there's an infantry defending against the tank, so like ultra cost effective. There's a mech backing that up, right? So even if we'll see Ichbin shoot through here and chip some damage on this mech, but just like a very cost-effective wall on the bottom, and in the top, very heavy armor that all these infantry up here can't get through. Like it's just a really great wall. I appreciate this a lot. You can tell that he knows what he's doing. Nothing much to say in the middle. He finally gets his black boat moving. Oh my god. 1.5 days behind. That sucks. Doesn't feel good. And then... Oh, yeah. And then another really great maneuver. This is a really great, really clever turn from MXD. He puts his little infantry on the city. And what's so significant about that is he's already retreated this artillery down here. Like, this is too exposed a position for the artillery to be in this square right here. There's just too much offensive power from Ichbin, MXD reasons. So this city is basically doomed to fall. But why not prolong it? Just prolong its fall a little bit longer by sticking a free infantry in there. And if you want to start hurting the infantry right away, you expose that infantry, and then the counterattack is the Blue Moon infantry attacks does like I don't know, maybe let's say 4 damage. So this guy's at 6, the counterattack is 3. And then the next turn, OS is healed, and like he's stronger. Now this infantry is at 8 HP, and you're at 7. Like that just sucks. Like he's so strong. And then you move an artillery into position to deal with this, but it's just such a pain in the ass. Point is, it's a pain in the ass. Oh, what if I want to bring a tank in? Oh, there's a mech here. Ew, that's so cost efficient. Yeah, it's really. I really like this move because it's definitely buying him at least one more turn of gold, and already in terms of like raw unit value, I think this infantry definitely pays for itself. All right, so the other thing, I missed this last turn, but ichbin bought a B-copter 2 turns ago, or I guess 1 turn ago, and mxd chooses to respond right away with his own B-copter. I think that the idea here is, I think I mentioned this at the beginning. Once ichbin has control of this airport, he can just build battlecopter after battlecopter, and just harass both sides. Both sides harass both islands rather. Both islands either have to have their own anti-air, which really sucks because that's like 8,000 gold on each island and 1 turn of base being used to produce something that isn't armor or an infantry. That's really bad. So the way to get around that is to like free up your fighters and cruisers right away, I think. So in that way, like the fact that he builds the copter now sort of free up all this anti-air. I think that might be a preemptive move, and it's obviously like a mirroring what ichbin does too. Like giving up free air control is never good. All right, let's move on to the next turn. All right, so ichbin counterattacks. As I said, he chips on the mech, but his tank is exposed, and this tank can't cover it. So this tank is toast. On the center island, not much. Just, reorganizing infantry. Yep, reorganizing. Finally trying to capture that center city again. They're currently even on cities. And there's different. They have different strengths on this island and this island and all that jazz. In the lower right, we see that he does decide to take the mech shot. He does decide to allow the mech shot, basically trying to like minimize the recoil damage from this infantry. We'll see how it turns out. And on this turn too, ichbin finally lands on the island with his HQ and with the free airport. The free airport with a lot of potential. All right, so mxd does tons of damage to the tank as we expected. However, he does leave his mech exposed to this infantry right here. So yeah, I think, I don't know. Hard for me to judge about that one. It's hard enough to figure. He like moved a lot of units in a crazy. That was like a difficult maneuver. Because this infantry went here. He basically moved these 3 units all over 1 square, and then the tank over. I don't know. That's a lot happened there, but I don't know. Point is, this tank's hurt. This tank is the last hope. But again, like he has so much. Ichbin has so much infantry that like I don't know. He can just kind of like block up this choke and be fine, as long as he has good stuff on the way. Wait, what button did I press? What's going on? Okay. On the middle island. Okay, last time I got it. Okay. Okay, mxd gets an artillery. Again, another artillery on the middle island with only 3 infantry and a tank. I think Ichben had like a recon, but not the tank. He made the same buy in an artillery when there's like comparably few infantry, and I don't know. It's just, again, like the middle is choky. Like, yes, that's like a diagonally one tile wide, but I don't know. It's just like that's so little stuff. Protect your artilleries. Both sides start attacking the APCs, starting to allow the fighters into the game. And right, and he counterattacks with the mech in the lower right. However, as we'll see in the next turn, although this looks like a pretty good structure, this is Ichben attacking, and he has some beautiful ideas about how to attack. And ooh, look at that. Let's see, how did he do it? He did attack with this infantry. Wait, hold on. How did he do this? No, he does. I think he does attack with this infantry on this mech. Attack with tank. Artillery on this infantry. Tank here. Sorry, this infantry here attacking that infantry. Tank here attacking the artillery. Oh, and then I think this guy just gets a free pot shot on the guy capturing. Hey, I think I got it. But yeah, that is, God, that is aggressive. So powerful. Ichben, you're so good. Let's see. And then in the middle, Ichben activates a tank. He finally gets a tank on the center island, starts capturing the airport. And in the upper left here, yeah, he sort of retreats behind an infantry wall, sets up an artillery. He's gonna take some damage leaving maybe, but yeah, the artillery should hold this off. Okay, next is MXD's turn. Okay, so let's start with the lower right. So MXD sort of takes advantage of his huge infantry numbers, pushes out through the mountains, weakening 2 of Ichben's infantry down to 1 HP. MXD is now like way ahead on the infantry count down here. As for the middle, this tank right here is safe. It is not going to be taken out anytime soon, so these artillery are safe. And the mech is tucked around the corner. This is, again, like a really phenomenal placement of units. Just really out of this world. And this infantry's still here. He's just chilling. He's been hanging out this whole time. That one tank tickled him, and he was, not happy about that. But he is chilling. Like it's still going to be another. Yeah, he's being an ass. That's all. Preventing capture. Okay, so the middle, MXD gets a mech. Tank artillery. Things are pretty even. He's behind I guess an infantry and a recon, but he's got a mech. He's okay in the middle, but he kind of needs to pick his battles there. In the upper left, he has walled off this capture with 2 vehicles. Those infantry aren't going to be attacking through those vehicles without any sort of help, or aren't going to be attacking through the vehicles unless they have some help. He's got some infantry on the way and a tank on the way. Both players have now, by this point, broken through the first APC. So now they have fighters and cruiser sub on their side. Yeah, okay, so that's all for that turn. Now, I did not see this next move coming. If you are feeling if you're feeling smart today, if you want to, if you're up for a challenge, a little puzzle, pause the video, try to find a really powerful move for blue. I'm not even going to tell you what island it's on. Maybe it's on this island. Maybe there's like a really strong tactic to kill away this tank, or maybe hurt the mech, or maybe there's something over here, or maybe there's something over here, or maybe, I don't know, the Ichbin uses like a bunch of things and then gets a war bonds and then builds a neo tank. I don't know. Find something cool. Find a good move. All right, I've given you way too much time. All right, next move. What? Look at this. How did that happen? Oh my god. I love this move so much. It's so cool. Okay, so Ichbin brings his tank way the heck up here. Shot on the recon. I actually recon on a move. Hold on. Let's do a really quick. I need to do a damage calculator. Just so that I know. I need to know if there's luck involved. Okay, so 10 HP tank versus a recon. On a road. Tank versus recon on a road. 80. Oh, wait, how lucky did he get? So that did 85. Okay, so let's say that he got no luck and there's 15 health on this recon. So it's at 2 HP. 2 HP infantry, and you need to do 15 damage. Okay, so 12. So there had to be 3 total damage from luck. So that's actually okay. I can't. I'm not going to try to do it in my head. But so he needed 3 points of luck in order to in order to kill this recon. He does so. Tank, infantry. So now the recon's out of the picture. He also brings one of these infantry up, interrupts this capture. And then the crown jewel of all of this, his sneaky little artillery is up in this cheeky little mountain. And this tank, he's not getting out of there. He's not getting out of there without a free pot shot from an artillery. I think that's just beautiful. I mean, MXD basically the best he can do. So tank plus infantry kills an infantry on a city. I figured this out earlier, and it's a pretty useful thing to know. So tank there, I don't know, infantry there, infantry dies. I have this set up somewhere. Let me. So we could do tank, infantry, die, infantry, hurt. You're not reaching this infantry. You're not getting anywhere near him. He is safe. So this tank is toast. Like, yeah. Unless you can get him around here. Oh, there's too many. Go away. 6 HP. No. He is trapperonied. So, okay. I've gone on about this too much, but I really, this is a beautiful position. And then at the same time, Ichbin completely, I think, takes a pretty solid control of this left side, but at the same time is like contesting the right side. So this looks like a property that's going to go towards Ichbin in a turn or two, and I guess 2 or 3 turns. And then in the bottom right, he's just consolidated. All of his tanks are on cities. And next turn, he's going to have 2 7 HP tanks and a full HP tank, unless MXD dives in. And I looked at this a little bit. Let's see. I'll pull up the move planner again. Let's say I move up here, attack. here. Whoa. Let's, for the sake of argument, let's say an infantry and a 9 HP infantry killed an infantry. Sure. And then this guy hasn't moved yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any way you try to attack with this tank, it just gets destroyed next turn, I think. I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much, but I don't think it's wise to attack into this. So at this point in the game, ichbin is up 2 full cities, which means 3,700 buckaronis. And at this point, MXD resigns. He gives up. And I think the other thing to think about is this airport is ready to troll next round. Sorry, next turn. Battle copters are gonna start popping out. Harassing things here. You're forced to either build an anti-air, or like, does the fighter get there in time? I'm stumbling over all my words. The fighter kind of gets out there, but then this APC comes down first, so then these, oh my god, I need the move planner so much. Okay, so he goes here, and then this is hurt, and then APC goes down. A fighter goes, I don't know, somewhere obnoxious like here. And then and you have an extra B-copter. Let's see, B-copter. Let's see if I can click around the calculator. Oh, I can't. Oh, no. Okay, well, there's a B-copter here. That, oof, ugh. I mean, it doesn't look good, man. Look at all this air control. And the thing is, too, like, Orange Star can't even hide behind these APC things. Like, I mean, I guess you can kind of... No, they can't. Like suppose I want to hide, like, this. Like, oh, come now. Oh, my God. Oh! What's happening? Okay, well, point is, like, suppose that... Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, everything's highlighting and nothing's moving. But, I mean, suppose you wanted to hide behind these APCs. Blue could just delete the APCs and then just fly up to you and kill you. Yeah, I mean, it's initiative on a pre-deployed battle. So I think that's... It's initiative on a pre-deployed battle. You're down on funds. This is bad. This is bad. The attack is bad. You get a free city here. You're not getting the free city there. I can understand. It took me a while to figure out why MXD resigned here, but I think I see where he's coming from. There's nothing really going in your favor. So that has been it for my analysis of this game. I would love feedback. Maybe you have ideas about how I can make the capture for Advanced Wars by Web look more appealing as opposed to like just a Safari window. If you have ideas, just shoot them my way. If I made any big blunders in assessing situations, I'd love to hear your feedback as to how you think certain positions were for certain players. This is my first time doing this, so I'm really hoping for some response and make the next one better. And until then, take care.